Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's first video. We're having a look at the spring of 2017 for today's first video, doing the first seasonal model roundup for the spring. Later on today, we're going to have a look at the weather next week to 10 days, as we would normally do so on a Thursday. And we'll see whether we can find any cold weather into January. But I say, this is our first season model roundup for the spring. Normally our long range updates are issued on a Sunday, but of course everything is a little bit messed up at the moment because it's Christmas. We had Christmas Day on Sunday this year when I would normally have done this video. So it's a bit delayed, but here it is, the first season model roundup for the spring of 2017. We're going to get 7 long-range models together. We're a bit short on long-range models this month because we haven't got JMA, haven't got APEC, haven't got the Russian model either. They don't reach the required time frame. They're just dealing with the February to April, I should say the January to March period, those long-range models. So they don't cover the period that we're really interested in. They'll be coming on stream next month when February to April will come into view. But I think we've got enough models to be getting on with, and there will be a clear consensus actually from this first update with models that we're going to use. Well, very on with that, just very quickly to say about the ads. There's links right across all the pages. Have a browse through widgets and click through links. If there's any other tools that can help us to pay for our website, thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads, both pages, which own that content when you watch very close, but again, does help to pay for Gaz This. It can be quite a long video, so you can't watch it all in one go. Don't worry, it'll be kept at the website indefinitely on the spring updates page. And later on today, actually, it will be added to the spring updates page, and there'll be a written summary just explaining everything that we've talked about in the video. Right, let's get on with it. And I should also say you can find the links to most of these long-range models on the links page. Right, let's get on with it. And we're going to start off with the Brazilian model this month. So this isn't covering the full spring period either. This is covering February through to April 2017. This 500 millibar height is always a little bit different with this one, in that blue on these charts is extrapolating to above average heights, and the brighter colours, sort of yellows, oranges and reds, they extrapolate to below average heights, which is low pressure. Any other 500 millibar height normally is the other way round, but I say this one does things a bit differently. So for the Brazilian model for the early spring period, February to April, you can find we've got above average heights to the south and extending into Europe as well. Below average heights up to the north, which is an Atlantic driven signal. It looks fairly westerly through the early spring period there, and probably on the mild side as well. Indeed, temperature anomalies from February through to April, with the Brazilian model coming out significantly milder than average, and the precipitation anomaly coming out close to average, maybe hinting at being a little bit wetter than average, especially so for the west, which you would expect, of course, because it is an Atlantic-driven spring. So a mild and fairly westerly Atlantic-driven early spring period, February to April, from the Brazilian model. We go north up to Canada next, and we have a look at Canip. So this from tropicaltidbits.com. You can find a link to Tropical Tidbits on the links page. This is mean sea level pressure anomaly, and again it looks quite Atlantic driven. This, we've got slightly below average heights to the north of the country. We've got above average heights around the Azores, extending up towards Spain, and probably just bringing the jet stream through rather like that. We've also got below average heights, a little bit anyway, across Scandinavia, indicating a fairly unsettled spring, probably for them. By the way, this does cover the full spring period, March to May, and all the other models we use from this point on will be covering March to May as well. Temperature anomalies from Canip are coming out slightly milder than average, as it is for most parts of Northern Europe as well. Above average temperatures with those westerly winds. Precipitation, again, coming out very, very close to average. It's a little bit drier than average down to the southwest, where we've got that area of high pressure extending through there. And again, I think it is quite a westerly looking signal for this spring. The experimental NASA model next, this is model 3, And we can see that again, we've got 500 millibar heights, below average heights around the north of Scotland, above average heights around the Azores, going up towards Spain. And again, almost certainly bring the jet stream through like that. So 3 models and a clear signal for an Atlantic westerly type spring this year. Notice this area of red over here across northern Russia. That is quite a big area of above average heights or high pressure there across northern Russia. Now, were that to push westwards at some point through the spring, obviously it would all look very, very different. What you have to keep in mind is that these are 3 monthly anomalies. So you might get 1 month that deviates, and let's say, for example, March was to take this area of high pressure and centre it across Scandinavia. Then you're talking about a much colder month, of course, in March, and then it might be that April and May take that area of above average heights back into northern Russia, and that's why it's coming up with the 3 monthly anomaly that it's coming up with. But you always have to bear in mind that these are 3 monthly anomalies. You could easily get 1 month that significantly deviates. On the face of it, for the 3 months of the spring, it looks like a fairly mild and Atlantic-driven spring that the model is going for. Indeed, that is what model is suggesting. Temperatures coming out milder than average there, above average temperatures for the spring. Now to check this, because this one is a little bit different with colours as well. So precipitation anomalies indicate a wetter than average spring. Those yellow colours indicating above average precipitation for spring 2017. So a mild wet spring, Atlantic driven, the signal from NASA. CFSV2 next, this is model number 4, and again, very clear trend here. We've got below average heights out to the west of the UK, above average heights around or close to Spain. And again, we're probably bringing jet stream through like that. And again, that jet stream would be extending through there rather like that. Once again, we do have above average heights up to the north across the polar field. They're quite weak, not enough at this stage in terms of what model is seeing to ward off the Atlantic. But we would need to keep an eye on it and see whether those above average heights were to strengthen. The temperature anomaly is again coming out milder than average for this spring. All models so far are seeing a milder than average spring, and precipitation probably hinting at being a little bit on the wetter side, if anything, although it's quite a weak signal. But the jet stream would be coming through like that with low pressure around there and high pressure around there. You'll expect a fairly unsettled spring, particularly so from that kind of setup early on. Jamstech IOD next. This is model number 5. This was always a bit different. It's going for a colder than average spring there across many parts of Europe, not just British Isles, but much of Europe coming out colder than average. Now, if you're a long-term viewer of our long-range model updates, you will know that I think there's a bit of a flaw within the Jamstech model, in that when we start using it for the first updates that we do for a given season, it tends to be cold. We do 3 seasonal model updates. So, for example, the spring of 2017, our first one is now in December. Update 2 will be in January. Update 3 will be in February. The last one, update 3, will be in February. And then after that, we issue our long-range forecast. Now, when we start with these months in month 1, and that's this update that we're doing in December, very often the Jamstech will be looking cold. That doesn't carry on through to updates 2 and 3. And by the time you get to update 3, normally it's going for something significantly milder than average, in line with what most of the other models are doing. So it appears that when you're talking about being quite a time away from the season you're looking at, as we are right now, there appears to be a bit of a flaw within the model in that it's a bit biased on the colder side, which is unusual for these long-range models because they are also climate models. And I think they're a little bit milder, a little bit biased on the milder side, if anything on the warmer side. But this one always looks cold when we start off it, and then it'll move in updates 2 and 3, something milder. Don't want to prejudge anything. That might not be how it works out this time. We'll have a look next month, most definitely, and also in February, see what it's showing. I suspect it will move in a milder direction, but we'll wait and see. As I say, don't want to prejudge anything. At the moment, going for a cold and average spring, not just for the UK, but for most parts of Europe as well. And you'll notice from what we've already looked at, it is at odds with most of the other model output, which doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, of course. Just because we've got a consensus doesn't mean it's the right consensus. The precipitation anomaly from Jamstech also looks quite bad. It's going for a wetter than average spring, so cold and wet really from Jamstech this spring. If it comes off, and I don't expect it to, but if it did, it would be a pretty dismal spring to say the least. Beijing Climate Centre next. These are 500 millibar heights, but Beijing Climate Centre model has had an upgrade, so the colours are more intense. And the British Arts is just there in the right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. Excuse me, with these intense colours, it's quite hard to make out where we are. But in any case, that is where we are at this point, and we can see that the model is going for above average heights to the west of us and below average heights up to the northeast. So that's sort of in line with what we've been looking at for most of these models. The difference, though, is that the alignment of the ridge of the trough means that the jet stream would be on a northwest-southeast trajectory, doing something like that. And again, over here, doing something like that. So we are more or less placed on the cool side of the jet. So it would be a cooler spring, I think, than what we've seen through most of the models so far. Temperature anomalies for the spring coming out average to actually very slightly cooler than average in the south, and if you come over here, many central parts of Europe actually looking a little bit cooler than average as well. So it is seeing that northwest southeast alignment to the jet stream, which leaves us with quite a coolish looking temperature signal. Precipitation, just check this, yes, so what we see with precipitation is that more or less we're coming out on the drier than average side, but it is a bit wetter up to the far north. So again, the pattern is high pressure to be centering around there, low pressure to be up here, and the jet stream to be going through northwest southeast, which leaves us with quite a coolish spring with the Beijing Climate Centre. And then finally, I told you it was going to be quite a short update. Finally, we come through to the UK Met Office, our very own model, GLOW C5, and what we see, again, it's looking very Atlantic driven actually. This means sea level pressure, high pressure is down to the south, low pressure is up to the north, and again the jet stream is coming through like that. So again, it's Atlantic driven, the south would be drier, the north would be wetter, temperatures in theory should be quite mild. Temperature anomalies coming out significantly milder than average across most parts of Europe. British Isles is included. Now that's suggesting January to March. So I'm going to just change that. Oh, that's gone a little bit wrong. So let's just come down here and have a look at the temperatures. There we go. That's the right temperature anomaly. Sorry about that. Doesn't make much difference to anything. Actually, you're still going for a significantly milder than average season from March through to May, through the spring of 2017. And that one is wrong as well. So let's just change that one over. Just proving that I'm doing this live, and I keep in the mistakes that I make. So precipitation with UK Met Office model is coming out above average. It's in a wetter but milder than average spring. We've got high pressure down here, we've got low pressure up here, and we bring the jet stream through like that. It's above average with the rainfall, it's above average with temperatures mild and wet. So we've got a clear trend, I think, which is for a westerly spring, generally milder and more unsettled than average. A little bit on the wetter side, but above average temperatures because it's Atlantic driven. Bear in mind, it's a transitional month, so okay, in March, westerly winds are going to be mild. Going to be milder than average if we get lots of westerly winds in March. In May, it's very different, and westerly winds are probably going to be a bit colder or cooler than average. So bear that in mind. But the overall signal for the spring is a bit milder than average and also a bit wetter than average. We have got a little bit of interest from Jamstech, although, as I explained, that always looks cold when we start off with it, and it tends to go milder in updates 2 and 3, we'll wait and see. And on the Beijing Climate Centre side, that one also looks a bit colder It is still Atlantic driven, but it's just the alignment of the Trossima Ridge means that the air come down from more of a polar maritime source with a northwest-southeast trajectory. That's what I was looking for update 1. As I say, we'll have many more models to go at next month. We'll have the full model suite, I think, to go at next month. So update 2 will be quite interesting what those added models add to the mix. Also next month we'll start having a look at some analogues. I know that James has been beavering away at the spring analogues with the spring analogues, and we'll present some of that research for you next month. The long range updates will go back to being on Sundays as well. As I say, it's just a bit messed up this year because Christmas Day fell on Sunday. It meant that I couldn't get this done for you. But from next month, all the long range stuff will go back to when you would normally expect it. Right, that's all for now. Later on, we're going to have a look at weather next week to 10 days, so come back for that. Be interested to see whether there's any cold weather looming in January. Hint, I think there could be, but I'll say no more. We'll see what the video has to say. This will be placed on the spring updates page later on today with a written summary just discussing everything that we talked about. So if you want to have a read of that, you'll be able to later on today. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.